picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm, the Twitter, YouTube, the BSN app, wherever you guys are watching. We appreciate you guys joining us on a Friday afternoon here. I got Jon Impemba with me today to talk through some baseball picks, baseball bets for you guys tonight on Friday night. But we got tons of baseball trades coming in too that we gotta break down for the people here. What's up, John?
Dan, yeah, listen, it's going to be a wild next couple of days here. Of course, as the MLB trade deadline hits, you and I obviously typically do the Tuesday show, filling in for Howard here today. Tuesday is going to be deadline day, so we will be live as the bell rings, as everybody on Twitter types pencils down as the deadline passes. You and I will be here to react to all the news. We'll even obviously get those late trickle-ins, news deals that are done at the deadline. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how the landscape changes over the next few days.
Yeah, and it seems like this might be a deadline also today because we got picks coming in, as soon as we're going live here, that we got to break down for people. I want to start with the big one. I mean, we just had the Astros getting Kendall Graveman, but we'll get to that in a sec. But the big one from just about 20 minutes ago was the Dodgers getting Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox. Get some rotation help, get some relief help. They just got Kike Hernandez and Ahmed Rosario from the Guardians, the day before. We talked about it in yesterday's show. But yeah, this move is interesting. I mean, Lynn is kind of I don't know what they're going to get from Lynn, but it is a veteran starter, so you can say that. They have a lot of young pitchers in their rotation right now, but Joe Kelly goes back to the Dodgers here to give them some bullpen depth. Dodgers to win the NL right now, plus 240. To win the World Series, plus 500. It seems like they might not even be done. I feel like another trade or two is coming before the deadline. But if you want to get on these odds now, this might be the shortest odds you get, because if they get another big name, bigger than we've seen, they could be ended up, it's like basically going to be them and the Braves, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Nightingale last night tweeting that Nolan Arenado would be willing to waive his no trade clause to go to the Dodgers. He apparently has a 100% no trade clause on his in his deal with the Cardinals there, and he'd be willing to move that to go to the Dodgers. So yeah, if the Dodgers want to make that big splash, then Arenado could be a move for them. We've seen them do it before. They went and got Machado, Trey Turner. They've made moves to get those guys, the types of guys in the past. Yeah. So could be a spot where they go and now pull and try to get Nolan Arenado here for a playoff run. To me, Lance Lynn is just offering some sort of end of rotation regular season depth for them. Mm-hmm. He is not pitching well enough to be any sort of playoff rotation starter for them, but he does have a lot of high strikeout potential. So maybe he fits well into the bullpen during their playoff rotation, a guy that maybe could give them an inning or two versus righties. He absolutely cannot face left-handed hitters. They are moonshotting him the majority of his home runs allowed have come against lefties. His ISO against lefties is ridiculous. Slugging percentage, batting average allowed all against lefties is horrible. But he's fared okay against righties and has a very high strikeout rate. So to me, he profiles as a guy that could fit into the bullpen for them during a playoff run. But at the very least for the regular season, a guy that can eat some innings at the back end of their rotation.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of waved out Noah Syndergaard before they dealt him away.
Yeah, another bad pitcher. So.
Yeah, and now they get Lance Lynn. I saw a tweet and it said like Lance Lynn's ERA is actually lower than Syndergaard's this year. Yeah. So it is, I guess, an improvement on that end to get a veteran arm there. But we said it yesterday, me and James Grande on the show, talking about how the Dodgers picked up Kike Hernandez and Ahmed Rosario, and it was like we both were saying they need pitching help though. They need probably another starter or two. Help in the bullpen is good too, but I feel like they do still need maybe another starting pitcher. But yeah, if they get a guy like Arenado, these odds are going to shorten to win the National League, win the World Series. I mean, There, Juan Soto's name's floating out there. He could be dealt. Who knows?
Big name now, not on the market though. Ohtani, right? Angels are now committing to go for it. Giolito is an interesting arm for them to get. Again, another guy that was with the White Sox that was pitching okay. If you look at his surface level numbers, they're fine. Mid-3 ERA. If you go into sort of the sabermetric stats, his FIP and xFIP's in the mid-4s. So, kind of getting a little bit lucky there with the batting average and balls in play and the home runs and whatnot. But, he's pitching tonight. He's got Toronto. So we'll see how Giolito's debut happens because, Ohtani can only do so much. Yesterday in a doubleheader, he threw a complete game shutout in game 1 and homered twice in game 2. So,
and they came out with like back spasms or something.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. They said he's going to play tonight though, so I guess it should be fine. But it's going to be interesting to see, what the Angels do to make that continued push, right? Because they can't be done. Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez isn't enough to get out of the West here, make a run into the playoffs. So they're going to need to make a couple more big splashes. I don't know what that means though. Like, do you trade away like a Zach Nato or a Mickey Moniak to get a big player in there? Like, those two guys are playing well for you, but they don't have a good farm system. So they have no real minor league players to deal for guys. So they have to come off of the major league roster or some of the young players that are producing at the major league level to get you some veterans in here. So we'll see. Obviously, Trout will come back and help that lineup a bit. Drury will come back, help that lineup a bit, but they're going to need some more.
Mickey Moniak's a big part of their offense right now too. So
I'm saying, right? But he's maybe the most valuable guy in a deal they have left on their team. So
yeah, we'll keep monitoring the Angels, see if they get anything done before the deadline again. The other big, staying in the AL West, the other big move that just came in right before we went live here that you've probably seen on Twitter by now, Kendall Graveman from the White Sox to the Astros. Minor league catcher going back to the White Sox in that one, but another White Sox trade here. They're selling off a lot of guys here. We'll see if anybody else is being dealt, but the Astros getting Graveman to their bullpen, I think is big. I know Graveman hasn't been as dominant this year as he has been in previous years, but I think getting him to kind of just have another piece besides Presley to close games. I know they got other guys there, but it seems like they've been very unreliable outside of Presley. And even Presley's had some issues.
Hector Neris has been pretty good for them in their bullpen. But Montero was supposed to be their guy coming into this year, and he has not been very good.
He struggled,
I agree. Yeah, Graveman closed some games for a little bit for the White Sox at times. Yeah, interesting to see them sort of just full on fire sale right now.
Yeah, so the Astros plus 390 to win the American League right now on DraftKings and plus 800 to win the World Series. They are, they are behind the Rangers still, so they are a wild card spot right now, but you kind of assume they are going to make it, whether it is the division lead or the wild card to make the playoffs. But becoming real contenders is a very real possibility. I know they've been down compared to recent years. I know this is the defending World Series champs we're talking about, but I think, just dealing with injuries to Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, now both of them are back. So I feel like this next week or two is going to be real telling, especially if they add another piece at the deadline. We'll see if, I could see them adding a pitcher because I feel like starting pitching is something they also need too.
I saw a report today that two teams that have called on Justin Verlander were the two teams you just mentioned, the Rangers and the Astros. I've called the Mets to see about the availability of Justin Verlander. Don't know the extent of those conversations, but reports are that there are teams linked to him. Mets already looking to flip, big deal 1 year. What, maybe this isn't the right time. It didn't work out. Ship him off here. Because the Astros rotation really has kind of let them down. Christian Javier not having the year many people thought that they would have, obviously relying on a rookie and Hunter Brown. And then a couple other guys like JP France and Bielak, two guys that didn't really expect to be contributors in this rotation this year if all things were going to plan here. So outside of Framber Valdez, that rotation's kind of been up and down. So going out and reacquiring a Justin Verlander, it could be a play for Houston to get over the hump. And then if you're the Rangers, you were supposed to have Jacob deGrom. Didn't happen. You look where your team is without him. Getting that legitimate ace there could help you put over as well. I kind of like the Corey Lee acquisition here by the White Sox too. They're a team that certainly could use an eventual catcher changeover. Lee was a top 100 prospect going into last year, according to Baseball America, having an okay year this year at the minor league level. So it's not a nothing prospect, for the White Sox. It could be a guy that actually, takes over their catcher position once, Yasmani Grandal moves on.
Yeah, and it's a White Sox team that still has Liam Hendriks as their closer when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So if they're looking to next year, seeing like, all right, we got Hendricks locked into the 9th inning, then Graveman is, just an 8th inning guy. It's not a guy that they will probably need to close games.
Right.
And he's also, Graveman's got kind of guy, we've seen this with other pitchers, but, the converted starting pitcher is just, he's found better success as the reliever. But I feel like they might be able to replicate some of what he was doing with someone else. So, yeah, and Ronaldo Lopez, too, in that bullpen wasn't doing great this year. So I feel like he was on his way out at some point.
It's funny that Giolito and Lopez are traded again.
Right.
They were with the Nationals when they were dealt together to go to the White Sox. So.
Yeah, they were. You mentioned Verlander possibly being traded from the Mets. That's a trade. Him and Scherzer, too. We'll see if they are dealt. Speaking of the Mets, though, they also made a trade. This was late last night, but we want to touch on it here. Acquired David Robertson from the Mets, their reliever, one of their closers for the Mets with Diaz out. But now he goes to the Marlins to shore up their bullpen. Another late inning arm from them. If you look at the Marlins right now, plus 110 to make the playoffs on DraftKings. They are a half game back in the NL wild card, but it's been fluid, on a nightly basis. It's like if the Phillies or Reds lose tonight and the Marlins win, then they're back in the wild card spot there. So that's a very fluid spot. But if you want to take a chance on the Marlins here, they're buyers here at the deadline. Not something we've seen with them in a while, but they get Robertson. They could be getting another piece or two before the deadline. And if you want to get value on them, plus 110 to make the playoffs, not bad for plus odds.
Yeah, people are already clamoring for them to recall Yuri Perez. They try, why they sent him down to manage his innings. If you're going to make a push, right, kind of need that guy, I think, in your rotation here. Nobody expected the Marlins to be where they're at. They also flipped relievers the other day, got Lopez, I think it was, from the Twins, I think.
Yeah.
To
help for Dylan Floro, I think.
Yeah, to get another bullpen guy in there as well. So, they find themselves a half game out. If you look, top to bottom roster talent, they don't really compare to the other teams that they're tied with, but they're doing it, and they've been doing it really without Jazz Chisholm all season long. So, which most people would call their best player. So kind of interesting to see them hang around.
What's the current status of Chisholm's injury? I'm not completely up to date on that.
Let me see here.
Is he coming? Is he supposed to be coming back soon?
Yeah, let me check with the latest.
Okay.
Information.
While you're doing that, by the way, if you want to stay up to date on all these trades going down, check out Fantasy Alarm's MLB trade deadline tracker. That's live over on the site right now. We got Colby Conway, Matt Sells, breaking down all these trades as they're happening. I'm sure they'll have a write-up soon, if it's not live right now, on this Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly deal to the Dodgers and Kendall Graveman to the Astros. They have they full breakdown on Carlos Santana being traded to the Brewers. One of all these fringe deals, and Sells is very much glued into all the minor league prospects that are being moved. So if you want more info on on that catcher that I forget his name now, but John was breaking down that catcher going back to the White Sox.
Right.
He's got all these guys in his arsenal that he's going to give you breakdowns for. So definitely check out the trade deadline tracker. It's being updated all night long. The late night David Robertson trade's already broken down there. So check out the trade deadline tracker.
So Jazz Chisholm's on the field actually right now. He's already taken outfield practice, and now he's doing batting practice. So He's dealing with an oblique injury. And he's on the 10-day IL. So we'll see if he needs a rehab stint or not. But as of an hour ago, he was taking batting practice, and reports are he looked pretty good. So could be soon off the IL. But how quickly does he find himself back there? Because that's been his problem this year. Just 45 games played for Jazz this year. He played just 60 last year. Hasn't really been able to stay on the field for this Marlins team.
All right, yeah. So we'll be tracking that. But yeah, these trades are obviously have an impact on futures odds, but we could see players getting scratched and pulled out of games. So you want to keep track of all these, be on Twitter, be on the lookout.
The hug watch is real,
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how odds move at all, game to game. But like the White Sox, clearly a team selling right now, so it might be a team to buy, to sell high on or whatever, bet against them. But we'll see if we have any picks against the White Sox tonight. And let's flip the script here, turn the page to tonight's games, and talk some best bets and betting picks, player props, all that good stuff. If you have your own picks you want to give us, hit us up in the chat. You got any questions on tonight's slate, questions on any of these trades going down, feel free to hit us up in the chat on YouTube, wherever you're watching, and we'll get to those. We'll answer your questions, and tell you what we think of your picks and all that. How about tonight, though? What's your best bet for tonight, John?
Yeah, I went Brady Singer over 3.5 earned runs on DraftKings Sportsbooks. It's at plus 120. Thinking behind this one is kind of twofold here. One, it's a big hitter environment tonight out in Kansas City. We're looking at heat temperatures. Heat index is over 100 degrees. They have an excessive heat warning in Kansas City here. Right now, it's 98 degrees out there with humidity. And the wind is actually blowing out tonight 10 to 15 miles an hour as well. So we have hot, humid, windy conditions blowing out. And this number looks a little interesting. One, it's not often we see an earned run total at 3.5. Usually these lines are set at 2.5. And if it's an over, they're kind of juiced up. But it's 3.5 at plus 120. But if you go down to the Twins team total tonight, it's set at 5.5 at minus 115. So, Vegas is kind of setting their Twins line at 5.5, maybe going over at 6, and Singer's at 3.5 here in a very favorable hitters environment. A guy that has struggled all year long. He's given up home runs. So this one could be over early. So give me the Brady Singer over 3.5 earned at plus odds tonight.
I like that a lot. And it looks like, just kind of looking ahead to our home run picks for tonight, we're both going with some Twins bats here. So I know we'll have, picks fading Singer coming up here. But yeah, the weather there is like the big factor. I mean, everywhere it's been hot and humid, it seems like, but the wind's blowing out in addition to all that, with a guy like Singer on the mound who can definitely let up some home runs and let up a lot of runs at times. So I like that call at plus money. Not bad. My best bet, I'm going with another pitcher prop here. We're both going with some pitcher props. Garrett Cole under 2.5 earned runs at minus 125. He's been really good on the road. Usually we look at him at home in recent years with the Yankees being, targeting him at home, but on the road, really strong numbers, 2.59 ERA, 2.81 FIP. And he's been under 2.5 earned runs in 7 of his 8 road starts. And just overall this season, he's been really consistent with this total. I like the under here because allowed under 2.5 earned runs, 2 earned runs or fewer in 16 of 21 starts this whole season, and 7 of his last 9 outings coming into tonight. Over his last 9 starts, he has a 2.59 ERA, 2.87 FIP, and it just really sets, it really falls right into a place when you got this Orioles lineup coming in that's, honestly, they've struggled a lot against right-handed pitching since the All-Star break for the past 2 weeks. MLB worst, 267 WOBA. And just the past week against righties, they have a 213 WOBA, dead last, 174 batting average, which is dead last. ISO's dead last. Their league-high 32% strikeout rate, too, against righties in this stretch, a low walk rate. So it's just really lining up for Cole, coming in strong, good form here. I don't think the on the road at Baltimore is going to impact it much. I just like him to do his thing. I looked at the Yankees money line and first 5 and stuff, but don't know what we're getting from the Yankees offense at this point.
You do get Aaron Judge back tonight.
You do get Aaron Judge, so that makes you feel a little bit better. But I know Cole's going to at least do his thing, so I'll take the under on his earned runs.
Yeah, I like that one a lot tonight as well. Cole, the strikeouts have really been there lately as well for him, so should be a good spot going up against Baltimore.
Yeah, I looked at his strikeout prop too, but I feel like that's always been, he's been up and down with those coming off double-digit strikeout outings, but we'll see if he can keep it going here. But yeah, that 32% strikeout rate for the Orioles over the past week against righties looks pretty good.
Yeah, what's their prop at? 8.5 or something like that tonight?
Oh, the game total?
No, for Cole's strikeout probably.
Oh, for strikeout.
7.5, 8.5, something like that, I think.
I think it was at 7.5 last time I
Yeah.
looked. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually 6.5.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, even better. Yeah, he's gone over that back-to-back
Mm.
double-digit strikeouts, back-to-back starts.
Yeah.
And over in 5 of the last 7. So
there you go. If you want to get a strikeout prop in there as well. All right. What other pick? By the way, if you have any other games that you are interested in, we have other best bets article up there on the site right now. Josh Wagner has got it covered today. So I'm sure I already looked at it earlier. I know he's got some games and some picks that we won't even be touching on. So if you want even more best bets for tonight's slate, go check out Wags' article. What else you got going tonight, John?
Yeah, for me, again, I mentioned the Twins run line already. 5.5 for them. I like that. The over -115 on DraftKings Sportsbook. And then pairing that one up with, I think a lot of the hits, runs, and RBI props for their guys are set at 2.5. But Matt Wallner's at 1.5. He had 2 home runs the other day. He's at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at -145. So if you wanted to maybe same game parlay or figure out a way to get those plays in for Singer over earned runs, Twins over team runs, Wallner over the hits, runs, and RBIs, it's definitely a pairing I'm looking at tonight.
Wow, yeah, full fade of Brady Singer here.
Where we're at. We're all about it.
All right, I'm going to stick in that game and go with Sonny Gray's strikeout prop under his 5.5 strikeouts, -142 on FanDuel. Honestly, when you look at all right, any pitcher pitching against the Royals, you think of the over on their strikeouts, but it's been kind of trending the other way for Gray, especially lately. But for the Royals, season long they have a high strikeout rate against righties, but it's down lately, 20.1% versus righties since the All-Star break, and over the past week, 21% versus righties. And Gray's coming in. He's having a good season. He'll probably lead the Twins to a win tonight against Singer and do his thing to limit runs. But his strikeouts have been down. He's under 5.5 in 9 of his last 10 starts coming into tonight. His 23% strikeout rate right now is actually his lowest since 2018. And he's been under 5.5 strikeouts in 6 of 9 road starts this season, averaging just 4.8 Ks per road outing this year. And overall, he has worse numbers on the road, in terms of strikeout rate, but also ERA and FIP compared to at home. So, just fading Gray's strikeouts here. I do think he'll limit these Royals bats enough, but the Royals are not striking out a lot right now. They're not scoring a lot of runs either, but they're also not giving guys a lot of Ks. So I think the 5.5 is just a little too high for Gray.
What do you think about our guy Lewis here in the chat asking question about the Diamondbacks game? Any feel for Mariners D-backs? He likes the Gilbert strikeout props. The DraftKings Sportsbook right now has that line 5.5 +130 on the over, -175 the under. The reasoning for that -175 in the under has got to be Arizona's strikeouts against righties this year. They're the 3rd lowest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching on the season. But some of the more recent data stats, if you're looking for recent sample sizes, last 30 days, they have the 12th highest strikeout rate. If you're looking over the last 2 weeks, it's at 23%. They're 20% on the year. So on the season, 3rd lowest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. Gilbert looking there at 5.5 strikeouts. This is a number that he's kind of been on the line for last couple of starts, 5, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5. So, there's a reason why it's at +130 on the over. Do you have any feel for this one here?
I think I'd lean the under there. I know it's juiced, but I looked at, you mentioned those strikeout splits over the past 30 days, past 2 weeks. Looking at the past 2 weeks against righties, the Diamondbacks, take out strikeout rate, they are like a top 10 offense. 355 WOBA against righties. A high 9.4 walk percentage too. ISO's at 214. So these are all a little concerning for righties. And Gilbert, he could hit the under if he's allows a few runs and doesn't have as long of an outing that he normally does. So I'd stay away from the K prop there. I'd lean under though. Lewis also says Julio to homer off Henry tonight too. Tommy Henry in that game.
+450 on that one right there.
Interesting. Julio's been on fire lately. He had he had a homer yesterday or the game before.
Yeah, he had back-to-back games. I think it is what
back-to-back. Yeah.
No.
So if you want to keep that one going, then go for it.
I would give that one a little bit more of a look. I do the RT Sports DFS Pick'em plays today, and I took Julio Rodriguez. They had his fantasy point prop today at 5.5, I think it was, and I was like, "Yep, give me the over against Tommy Henry on that one." So
that's low.
That's low. Now here's the problem: James Grande and I, we do the RT Sports DFS Pick'em plays on the DFS show that follows this show. The other day, we gave a 3-pick play. Corbin Carroll was at 5.5 fantasy points against Adam Wainwright and missed. We went 2 for 3, missing the Corbin Carroll 5.5 fantasy points against Wainwright. So that was kind of tilted, but it felt very low to see Rodriguez that against Henry at just 5.5. So I was willing to go over that tonight. So I'd be willing to go more in line with the home run long shot play than Gilbert at the 5.5 Ks.
Yeah, and that game totals at 9 right now, minus 110 either way, and basically, minus 130 for the Mariners, but basically you could go either way there, almost to pick them. But yeah, I think I'd stay away from that. Gilbert
in conjunction with his questions though for that game, my next bet was Tommy Henry over 2.5 earned runs tonight. So
all right. Break it down.
At minus 130. So if we're just kind of connecting the pieces together here. We've seen some guys in this lineup that hit lefties pretty well. Teoscar Hernandez hits lefties really well. Julio Rodriguez is starting to heat up. Eugenio Suarez hits for a lot of power against left-handed pitching here. So, Tommy Henry's really only had one good month. The rest of his numbers have been largely terrible, over the course of the season. You get him in a good hitter's environment here as well. For this matchup in Arizona. It's not in Seattle where it's Motor Pitchers Park. It's in Arizona. So I do like the more than 2.5 earned runs allowed by Tommy Henry this evening.
All right. Yeah. So there you go, Louis. Louis Pepe says very nice because if you want to get a little pick in there and go with the Tommy Henry earned runs over then.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
All right, my next picks, I'm going to pair these up, but first with the Padres, first 5 run line. It's a minus half a run there, minus 120 on DraftKings to be leading after 5 here. I really like Joe Musgrove, the form he's coming in. This dude has been, I feel like, quietly just kind of floating under the radar because we think of, the Padres aren't in the wild card race right now, so I feel like he's not getting the total national attention.
Right.
But 180 ERA in July right now, 207 ERA since the start of June, spanning those last 10 starts. And just like kind of backing him. I know the Rangers offense, that's who he's facing tonight. Really good against right-handed pitching. Yeah. Elite against right-handed pitching.
Even without Seager, they're still putting up a boatload of runs right
now.
So.
The past couple of weeks, they're still, top of the league in a lot of carries against righties. But just backing Musgrove here. But also, this is a fade of Dane Dunning. And my other pick here is in conjunction with this first 5, back in the Padres, going with Dane Dunning over 2.5 earned runs at minus 125 on DraftKings. This is a fade of Dunning because impressive 3.18 ERA for him, but he's been due for negative regression for a while here. And we just saw it actually. His most recent start against the Dodgers gave up 5 runs and 7 hits over 3 innings. And he still has a 4.97 expected ERA, a 4.18 FIP. Just worrisome compared to that low ERA and, low strikeout rate for him, a high expected WOBA, some pretty bad StatCast numbers when you dive into it. And I think this is a spot here. The Padres have been very up and down, very underperforming their offenses, but I just wouldn't be surprised if Dane Dunning runs into trouble here. Yeah. The Padres have a low strikeout rate and high walk rate against right-handed pitching since the All-Star break. Their other metrics, their run scoring and WOBA isn't where we'd like it totally, but I just feel like, when you dive into it, Dunning could be an issue here. And is this prop, 2.5 earned runs, it's low for him because he's allowed 3+ earned runs in 5 of his last 10 starts. So that's half, but he's flirted with the over a lot. He's had at least 2 earned runs in 9 of his past 10 outings, and he's gotten lucky not to allow, another run or two in a lot of those starts. So I think the Padres are going to make him work here, and I like the over on his earned runs. I like the Padres in the first 5.
Yeah, listen, the one thing with Dane Dunning is that he's a big ground ball pitcher, right? So a lot of those times, because he's not striking out a lot of guys, that he generally has a low batting average in balls in play against, because he's a ground ball pitcher. That the FIP, XFIP numbers aren't usually favorable to those type of pitchers because they don't give up a lot of home runs, so the XFIP gets hurt there and whatnot. And I think a lot of this plays into the fact that the Padres haven't been all that good. But to your point, Dane Dunning is getting a little bit lucky here. So, like, if any of that flips over to the Padres' favor, then he's gonna have some trouble because he can't miss bats. Yeah, he had one random game this year, I think, where he had double-digit strikeouts really out of nowhere. But for the most part, he's just been a ground ball pitcher here.
Yeah, I think his strikeout total tonight was at like 3.5.
3.5.
So.
Yeah, he's not a strikeout guy. Cordero in the chat here saying Mins could be a good stack. You're about 20 minutes late to the show because we are all in on Minnesota here this evening. 1,000% agree.
Well,
my bet of the day was over Brady Singer 3.5 earned runs at plus 130. We like Matt Wallner tonight. For me, hits, runs, and RBIs.
The team total
over 5.5 for Minnesota. So yeah, I am all in on the Twins here this evening.
And if you stay tuned in a few minutes here, we'll be giving out our home run calls. And I think me and John are both on some Twins here. So you could see which other Twins you might want to get some picks on or get into DFS lineups if that's your thing. So yeah, stay tuned for that in just a little bit. Any more picks you want to give out? And I know I got a couple more here.
Yeah, I got one more, and it's again same game, different sides. Here, I'm going Adrian Hauser over 3.5 earned runs tonight. It's at minus 125 going up against the Atlanta Braves. This is another pitcher where if you kind of look at his sabermetric numbers, doesn't strike anybody out, 7K per 9. He has 3 walks per 9, which is terrible. You can't be putting guys on base in front for this Atlanta Braves lineup here. His XFIP, FIP, and expected ERA are all over 4 on the season here. So you're looking at a lineup in Atlanta. I know they just got swept by Boston, but Acuna, Albies, Olsen, Murphy, you name it, up and down the list there. A lot of guys that can do a lot of damage here against Hauser. Lefties this year, 452 slug, 361 weighted on base. Righties, 400 slugging percentage, with a 315 weighted on base again. So, he's not really, shutting these guys down. He's just getting a little bit lucky with the home run ball that they're not doing much damage on them there. Give me the over 3.5 earned runs. Again, it's rare for a pitcher to have a 3.5 earned run line unless you're like in course. So I'm going to go over that for Hauser tonight.
Yeah, you're going over 3.5 on multiple pitchers here. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm going to the other side of that one. And maybe you want to look at the over in this game because I like the Brewers team total in the first 5 innings over 2.5. Looked at their full game team total, but here I'm just looking at the first 5 plus 100 on DraftKings. And this is a fade of Yanni Chirinos, who's making his Braves debut here after being acquired from the Rays. And if you look at his stats, with the Rays, he was used as a starter, he was used as a bulk reliever, he's doing both, a couple innings reliever at times, but he's been more effective out of the bullpen as a relief pitcher for the Rays this season than as a traditional starter. 6.43 ERA as a starter. It's 4 starts that he's had, but a 2.81 ERA as a relief pitcher. And here he's making this start. He's on the mound to start the game. And if you look at, even as a bulk reliever lately, since the Braves, before the Braves acquired him here, he's given up 3+ earned runs in 4 of his last 5 outings of 2 innings or more. So when you look at whether it's been out of the bullpen or as a starter, when he's pitching at least 2 innings plus, and usually it's about 4 or 5, he's given up 3+ runs in all these, and a 6.66 ERA since mid-June, since that span of these last 5 outings. And, I look at this team total for the Brewers going over 2.5. I like it because this is the way Chirinos has been trending. Maybe the change of scenery is always the risk here. Maybe he's kind of has a different vibe about him and goes out and throws, 5 shutout innings. But I don't think that's going to happen in a, kind of a hitter-friendly environment there in Atlanta. And the Brewers, league average offense over the past week against righties. So that's kind of like middle of the pack and don't know way to go. Don't have a lean on the Brewers offense specifically, but just fading Chirinos here.
Yeah, again, a guy that doesn't strike anybody out. He puts a lot of balls in play. I'll agree with you on that one. He's not a very good starting pitcher. So while the Brewers, their lineup's been hit or miss this year, it's another spot where the hitting environment in Atlanta is conducive to runs being scored tonight. So I'm with you.
All right, and then before we get to some home run calls for you guys, my last pick here. I'm going with the Detroit Tigers first 5 run line as underdogs, plus a half a run there, minus 120 on DraftKings. This is the Tigers offense isn't the best, bottom tier, against a lot of, the righties or lefties. They're facing a lefty here in Braxton Garrett. But also on the other side, the Marlins offense isn't much better. They're kind of a bottom tier team against righties, and they have Reese Olson. But this is more of a pick of Olson backing him against Garrett because when you look at it, Reese Olson, much better numbers on the road this season than at home. 3.18 ERA and a 2.70 FIP on the road compared to a 5.40 ERA and 4.82 FIP at home this season. He's on the road here. And then Braxton Garrett, some poor home numbers compared to his road stats. He's got, ERAs and FIPs in the 2s on the road, but at home, 6.06 ERA and a 4.81 FIP. So just kind of comparing these, the Tigers versus Marlins offenses is pretty much a wash in my opinion. So I just like the Olsen side of this to at least be tied after 5. That's where you get the half a run there on the run line rather than the money line in the first 5. So I'll take the Tigers to either be tied or winning after 5, minus 120 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and argue too much with you. The Tigers are a team that, this season they've started slow. They've started to pick it back up. And then you look at Miller there. Is it Miller, right? Miller pitching for Miami today? Who's on the
Garrett, Braxton Garrett.
Braxton Garrett. I kept on having Miller for the Dodgers in my brain. But Garrett pitching for them, a lefty, really struggled. So he's a guy that for a while there I was riding his strikeout props, but now he's just getting hammered and not pitching deep enough into games. And the Tigers lineup starting to kind of come around and hit some left-handed pitching. So
dude, Tigers quietly in the AL wild card hunt. I mean, if they
look at Riley Green, Spengle Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, right? Those guys are starting to come around and be a little bit more consistent for them. So.
Yeah, they're not totally out of it. They're not like a bottom feeder team right now. So interesting. I know the Marlins have they're kind of that's why I'm staying also with the first 5 because I know the Marlins just boosted up their bullpen. So the later innings might kind of belong to the Marlins there, but I'll take the chance on the Tigers in the first 5. Is pretty much a toss up in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, so that about does it for our betting picks. We got to get to some home run calls, but I got to just remind you guys, if you haven't already, to go check out the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Football Draft Guide that's live right now online at Fantasy Alarm and get that All-Pro subscription as well. If you do have the All-Pro subscription, you get all the DFS playbooks and DFS advice, but you get the draft guide for free. And you can get that All-Pro subscription with a 7-day free trial. If you go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide, you can check that out, but you can also get the draft guide for $26.99.
Cheat sheet now live too. So if you get the subscription, Howard Bender's fantasy football cheat sheet launched this afternoon. One-stop shop for all your rankings, auction values, draft grid, Coop's dynamic tier rankings are in there as well. So and that is updated throughout the offseason. So now's the time to go ahead and get that. Don't need to go buy a magazine at the supermarket anymore. That thing's out of date. It's not going to have where Dalvin Cook is signed. It's not going to have where DeAndre Hopkins is now a Tennessee Titan. Just missing that information. You're not getting all of the stuff you need to know. So, get the Fantasy Alarm Living Draft Guide, get the cheat sheet. It gets updated. You can download the updates. Whenever it happens, they get pushed out. You get alerted. So definitely come and join the family now.
Awesome. Yeah. Get on it now. All right, let's get to our home run predictions for tonight, our daily dingers for Friday.
It is the dinger.
All right, we teased it. We teased what way we might be leaning here. Who you got going deep, John?
Yeah, hopefully he's in the lineup. He's been out of the line the last couple of days due to a shoulder injury here, but Alex Kirilloff is the home run guy for me tonight. Again, we're going against Brady Singer. They have a heat index of 109 in Kansas City. High right now is 98. It's humid. Wind is blowing out. Brady Singer's been getting hammered. Kirilloff, last 10 games, has 4 homers during that span. So let's hope he's in the lineup because I'm going to be going Alex Kirilloff tonight at plus 550.
And I'm sticking right with the Twins here. You mentioned the weather situation there, very favorable to hitters tonight. And then, for the Twins offense against Brady Singer, you mentioned you like the over on his earned runs prop. He's prone to allowing a few home runs if he gets in tight spots and, lets people to elevate. So I'm looking at Edouard Julien at plus 500 on DraftKings. This guy's been, hammering right-handed pitching all season. He's been on a roll here, but 320 batting average, 607 slug against righties. All 10 of his home runs have come against right-handed pitching, and he's swinging a hot bat since the All-Star break. 410 batting average, 718 slug, and now 6 home runs in the month of July. He just homered 2 days ago, and I think he gets another one here. So I'll go with plus 500 on Julien.
Yeah, best part about the Twins is they finally stopped pinch hitting for their guys. There was a point in time during this season where all of their guys, the other lefties would get 2 ABs, or their righties would get 2 ABs because as soon as a lefty or righty reliever came in, they would get pinch hit for. That doesn't really happen anymore. They just play Kepler, play Julien, play Kirilloff. The game, lefty or righty, doesn't matter.
It's been helping them win games too. I mean, they're sticking with their guys, and it's working. Especially because when you have guys like Julien, Kirilloff, other guys stepping up because Correa's having a down year compared to what you'd think from him.
Buxton's being Buxton in out of the lineup, So
Gallo's either hitting a home run or striking out as usual. So they need, Julian's another guy.
Polanco's been hurt all year for them,
Well, I forgot that Polanco existed, honestly.
Yeah.
Because he's been out.
He's been hurt all season. So, that's what it is. So.
All right, so those are your home run calls for tonight. And if you missed any of our betting picks for this show for tonight, definitely go back and watch on YouTube if you're watching there. And you can see all of our, player props, betting picks for tonight, some awesome trade analysis at the beginning of the show for, again, if you missed it, Kendall Graveman going to the Astros and Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly going to the Dodgers just before we went live today. And I'm sure, we'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern, and I'm sure we will have more trades to discuss there from the weekend. And, Tuesday's show, you mentioned, John, we will be very busy with some of the trades coming in and the impact on futures odds and games that night, picks that night that we'll have. So if you need any help, kind of maneuvering all of that, we are here to help you. Appreciate everyone tuning in today. Coming up after us, by the way, 5 p.m. Eastern, we have the MLB DFS Quick Pitch live show with Fensty and Grande, and then the Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in all night, fantasy baseball, fantasy football talk, betting picks for you guys all weekend here on Bettor Sports Network.
I'll actually be on the DFS show today. Me and Grande.
Oh, you're pulling double duty. All right.
Yeah, double duty for me today. So I'll be there.
Love it. Double header for John here.
We may be talking Minnesota Twins and DFS tonight. We may be talking it. So.
I think there'll be Twins in your line.
Probably some Twins there, so.
And probably, just not playing Brady Singer at all. I think that's a complete
definitely not playing Brady Singer.
All right, well, stay tuned to see where John's going with his DFS picks if it lines up with some of these betting picks. Appreciate everyone tuning in here. We'll be back on Monday, as I mentioned, 4 o'clock Eastern every day here at Bettor Sports Network, Bettor Sports Betting show at 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Thank you, John. Good luck with all your picks tonight. Good luck with everyone's picks tonight, and we'll see you on Monday. Take care.